of gold. Our trading partners are already abandoning the dollar. They are fleeing into gold. There's no doubt about it. Chinese are selling treasury bonds. It's going to continue for a very, very long time. So the next big thing I would look for is to see either Brazil or China make a very large acquisition of gold, probably from the IMF. So that's the one thing you're going to see. The next thing you're going to see is you're going to see more and more U.S. underwriting of big bailouts in Europe. We just got finished with the Irish bailout, the Spanish bailout, and the Italian bailout is next, and it's going to be even bigger. So you're going to see the Fed underwrite $2-3 trillion in bailouts for Europe this year. Pretty soon, people are going to start asking, wait a minute, where's all that money coming from? How could the Americans be paying to bail out the Europeans when the Americans are even more broke than the Europeans?
And so we're going to be the last domino to fall, or there's no telling, it's Russian roulette?
No, I'm saying something different. I'm saying that the dominoes are already falling. They're falling in a way that's designed for most people not to notice.
No, I agree. As the G20 said last year, it's coordinated devaluation. But I mean, I know the dominoes have fallen over and over again, but it's like dominoes going down a staircase. We're going deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, here's a better way to say it. When do we hit rock bottom?
We hit rock bottom when the U.S. Treasury cannot conduct an auction, when there are no buyers for Treasury bonds. And believe me, no one believes that's going to happen, but it'll absolutely positively happen, and it's going to happen a lot sooner than anybody expects.
Well, the Fed's already been having to start to expand its monetization and buy Treasuries.
That's right. They're the people who are buying all the supply.
Unbelievable. Porter Stansberry is our guest. We're going to come back and get into that. And then also tell you how to hopefully protect yourself. They got a lot of key information that I agree with at endofamerica3.com. Endofamerica3.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com.
Are you tired of police, judges, and bureaucrats using traffic tickets and other regulatory traps to trick you out of your hard-earned money? Are you sick of fraudulent bankers rigging mortgages and using the foreclosure process to steal your home? You need to visit bestfreedomtools.com. Act now to get an amazing free catalog and free DVD packed with vital information to give you the upper hand against these so-called authorities. You will learn how to overcome all traffic fines, how to stop judges in their tracks, and how to effectively combat penalty notices of all kinds without paying a penny. All the information you need to regain your health, wealth, and power is yours at bestfreedomtools.com. To get your free catalog and free DVD, call 800-880-9976. That's 800-880-9976. Or visit bestfreedomtools.com now for your free catalog and free DVD. Bestfreedomtools.com, giving you the information you need today.
A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com.
What is the #1 secret to all your health problems? I'll give you a hint. Dr. Alexis Carroll kept chicken heart tissue alive for 28 years in a test tube. He said the cells remained youthful so long as the metabolic wastes were washed away, but that when wastes were allowed to accumulate in and around the cell would age and then die. So the key to radiant health is cellular cleanliness, and the key to keeping your cells clean of chemicals, free radicals, and heavy metals that we are bombarded with in our society is glutathione. This master antioxidant is required by every cell of the body. Glutathione levels decline due to toxicity and aging. The #1 food to replenish your body's glutathione levels up to 64% or more is unheated, grass-fed whey protein powder. This miraculous superfood may do more for your health than any other supplement you've ever taken. To get your free report of the best whey protein powder, call 888-988-3325 or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworld, WHEY.com.
into overdrive into the fourth hour. We've got open phones specifically for our guest, Porter Stansberry. The website is endofamerica3.com. Free video up there, extremely powerful information. endofamerica3.com. You can go watch the video streaming online at endofamerica3.com. Of course, our websites are infowars.com and prisonplanet.tv. We've got more huge guests, including former Minnesota governor with bombshell info coming up Friday, but other surprise guests coming up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday here. And, of course, coming back next week, I'm taking a few days off, but Paul Watson will be here live with folks just a whole bunch of special guests with Watson, Paul Watson, next week live here as well. Finishing up with hitting rock bottom and why you have the term end of America. I mean, when you say end of America, what do you mean by that?
Well, I want to be clear about that. What I mean by end of America is America losing the special position it has had globally since World War II of having the world's reserve currency. It's an enormous advantage to us. It's enabled us, actually, unfortunately, to build these enormous debts. There's no way creditors would have allowed us to do that if we couldn't print the world's reserve currency to service those debts. So we're the only nation in the world that can buy anything around the world in our own currency. Everybody else has to buy dollars before they can buy oil, or buy dollars before they can buy corn, or buy dollars before they can buy a company in another country or real estate or whatever.
So we pay $80 for a barrel of crude, and the Germans pay $200.
Well, the Germans have to buy dollars before they can buy crude from a foreign source. And that means their government has a vested interest in making sure their currency remains sound. Otherwise, the people are going to notice. Our country's politicians have the great luxury of having the world's reserve currency, and that means that they can run enormous fiscal and current account deficits for years and years and years and years without any repercussion. And of course, that's what they've done. So now we're stuck with this big dilemma where all the consequences of our bad economic behavior for the last 30 years are going to come to a crisis instead of being something that we noticed along the way.
Well, it is moving quicker and quicker, so when do we hit bottom? I mean, obviously, I agree with you. The dollar devaluation is on. The dominoes are falling now, and many have already fallen. But when we hit bottom and instead of only 20% or so of the treasuries not being bought at auction, when 90% aren't being bought, what does that do? Just hyperinflation? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, this, again, I know this sounds sort of implausible, but I would just beg you to look at the numbers. Total domestic U.S. savings are around $600 billion right now, okay? Annual federal deficit is $1.2 billion. What's the difference between how much we can save and how much our government is spending? The difference is $600 billion. So let me ask you, Alex, guess how much money the Federal Reserve just agreed to print over the next 6 months? Take a wild guess. It's $600 billion. Give the Cracker Jack award to Alex. So we're already at the point where the Federal Reserve is literally printing all the money that we need to maintain our annual fiscal deficits. That is absolutely positively banana republic finance, and it has enormous consequences for our country going forward. And there is no one in the mainstream media at all who is giving an adequate warning about what this really means.
And all the really rich people I know are leaving the United States. They're now, in fact, well, I'm not going to get into it, but, they're leaving this year because they know the new rules are going in where you can't get your money out. So roaches get in, the roaches don't get out. I mean, this is really authoritarian. I believe politically we're going to be able to beat it with Ron Paul and Rand Paul and others, but it's going to be a hard road. I know there's nowhere to run long term, so we're choosing to go down with the SS Titanic. If you want to call us in the next hour and have questions specifically for our guests, Porter Stansberry of endofamerica3.com, 1-800-259-9231. 1-800-259-9231. Specific short questions or comments for our guests. Open phones right now. We're going into overdrive. Stay with us.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As they're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
I have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, And they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Porter Stansberry is our guest. EndOfAmerica3.com is the URL to see their free hour-long video that I have to unfortunately concur with. I wish this wasn't true. We're going into a very serious storm. They've told us we're out of the storm, that the recession's over. Porter, from your deep financial research, do you agree that with me that according to any economic indicator, we're really in a depression already?
About that in terms of the employment issue, absolutely positively correct. I think in terms of economic activity, it's a lot harder to say because there has been so much debt-driven stimulus that there's a lot of apparent economic activity that is really just driven by debt. So if you get $1 in economic activity, but you had to add $2 in debt to get it, are you really any better off?
Yeah, because you're still, it's like take one step forward, a step and a half back. We didn't have you faded up the first 2 seconds. I want to get your quote exactly right here. I was asking, by the economic measurements, are we in a depression? And you said?
There's really two ways of looking at it. The one is from the standpoint of employment and the economy. And then by that measure, we're definitely in a depression, not in a recession, and we're still in it. The other measure is just judged by economic activity. And while we have had a return to economic activity in terms of positive GDP growth, much of that growth has been driven by debt. Vastly larger increases to debt than you've had increases to GDP. So the numbers are really skewed because of the size of the fiscal and monetary stimulus.
All right. Very interesting. I agree with you on that. Let's talk to Faye in Florida. Faye, you're on the air with our guest, Porter Stansberry. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, guys.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your information. I really have learned a lot from you, Alex, and from Lindsey Williams and all of your guests. And Porter, thank you so much for your commentary today. You touched on this briefly before the break about the connection with oil and the U.S. dollar. Can you explain to us further what will happen when the oil cartel takes us off of the U.S. dollar reserve currency for oil?
Yeah, what, $7 a gallon by the time they're done, Porter?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. Most people don't know a lot about the history of the U.S. involvement in the Middle East and the oil businesses. And, you know, the U.S. has been involved in hiding the true price of oil from the Middle East for a long time. When the dollar first broke from the gold standard back in the early 1970s, the Saudi Arabians seized the U.S. ownership of the oil fields.